This was several years ago, before I moved to a different city. I used to work overnights as a custodian at a high school in a small town.
This was the only public high school within like an hour and a half.
I got the job after having worked night shifts at a grocery store for a couple of years. I was actually really liking it. It was way more chill than any job I'd had.
Working at the school was pretty much the same thing.
I'd clock in at 8, so well past when the school was closed by, and leave at 4 a.m. I never saw anyone except for maybe another custodian on the way out, as they left at 8. The job itself was simple. You can probably picture exactly how every night went.
It would vary slightly per night, but basically I'd clean all the floors, reset the classrooms.
I'd do any other basic things to have the school ready for the morning. There was no security. It was just me, overnight. I didn't have any security duties or anything either, because all the doors had those automatic mechanical locks. They only opened with a key card and would immediately lock behind you. This night, I came in with coffee in hand and started off like usual. I went down to the janitorial closet in the basement and grabbed the cleaning supplies I'd need. Then I took the large floor broom and went through all the hallways. And I will say, the first few nights were kind of creepy. The only lights that would stay on were the power-saving ones that were very dim. So a lot of the empty corridors were very dark. I could turn on any individual light while I was working if I needed to. But it was always easier to just leave them and not worry about having to constantly flick them on and off again. Anyway, after sweeping the main hallways, I started resetting the classrooms.
Basically just tidying them up, making sure no chairs were missing, grabbing any trash left behind, and that kind of stuff.
Easy, but tedious work to have to go through every single room.
I was in maybe the third or fourth classroom down the hall when I swore I heard something on the other side of the school.
It was a metallic thud sound that echoed down the halls. I thought it kind of sounded like maybe one of the metal entrance doors closing. I hurried out of the classroom and into the hallway. It was dead quiet. I then walked through the hall to the other side of the school. I looked around and even went up to the doors and opened them to look outside. But I really didn't see much of anything. It's not like I could even tell if a door was what I'd heard, because they automatically locked anyway. I thought surely if it was, then an alarm or something would have gone off. Unless it was staff, but in that case they would have said something, or probably turned on some of the lights. I brushed it off and went back to the classroom. I was in there for another 10-ish minutes, but while I was cleaning, I had this lingering feeling that kept making me look back at the classroom door, like at the slot glass window in the door, as if checking if someone was looking at me through it.
I never saw anything, though.
I finished what I had to do in there, and after heading out to look in the hallways again, I decided to take my first 15-minute break. I was kind of tired and thought maybe that's why I was hearing things and getting that strange feeling. I went to the staff break room and just sat in a chair, leaning back and resting my eyes for a few minutes. I honestly can't say how long I was there for, but no more than 10 minutes, when I heard a sudden thump next to me. My eyes jolted open and immediately looked toward the door. And I saw a figure quickly move away from the window. I swear I saw a face and everything just shift out of sight the instant I looked over there. I literally jumped up from the chair and stared at the door for a second. I was still sort of dazed and everything because I had been resting. Not sure if I fully fell asleep or not, but my mind was definitely shut off and relaxed when this all suddenly happened. As I stood there, I didn't hear anything, like footsteps or any doors opening. I started thinking if I'd really seen what I thought I did, or if it was some kind of half-asleep hallucination. I took a second to shake off the chills I got from getting startled up.
Then I went over and opened the door.
The corridor was dark, but nobody was in this section. I went out into the main hallway, and again, didn't find anything or anyone. I genuinely didn't know what else to do after this point, other than just get back to work. Now, thinking back on this, I feel like I remember what I saw pretty clearly. But while I was in the school, I think I tried so hard to convince myself that it wasn't real. To the point where I fully believed I hadn't actually seen anything. I spent the next hour resetting the other classrooms on that half of the school. Still feeling uneasy about the night, but thinking after I went home and got a good night's rest, I'd probably never even think about it again. With all the cleaning done in the section, I headed back down to the basement to fill up the mop bucket and finish that side of the school by mopping the floors. I turned on the water and watched it slowly fill the bucket.
And softly, I started to hear something upstairs.
Footsteps, walking slowly down the hallway. They were coming closer, walking toward the basement door at the top of the stairwell. They came all the way right up to the doorway. I stared anxiously at the top of the steps, anticipating them walking past, or even down the stairs.
It was still kind of dark up there, but I kept my eyes locked.
My heart was pounding, now almost sure that what I saw earlier might have been real. Whoever it was up there had stopped just a couple feet from the door. And after about 30 seconds, a figure slowly leaned into the doorway, just enough to look down the stairwell at me. As soon as they saw me looking at them, though, they quickly shifted out of sight again. And I could hear their footsteps sprint down the hallway. They went somewhere toward the other side of the school. Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing, but I didn't do anything. I didn't move or take the opportunity to run for it. The sudden shock and absolute horror of what I just saw had me completely frozen. I didn't move or take the opportunity to run for it. I quietly walked up the stairs and looked down the hall. There was no one there. It was just as dark, quiet, and empty as it always was. I then moved to the end of the hallway, and from there, I could see the entrance doors. I made a run for it, going straight outside into my car. Once I was safe, I called the police. They got there fast, in just a couple minutes, but they didn't find anyone. And the school only had a few security cameras, all just looking at the entrances and exits. And at no point during the night did it show anyone walk in after me. Could have gotten in sometime during the day and hid somewhere. But tracking every single person entering and exiting was impossible. Or they could have gotten in a different way. Why he was even there to begin with is unknown too. There's still a lot of things that don't make sense about what happened that night. But having a gut feeling about it, I didn't stay at that job any longer to find out. Even the thoughts of going back there and working overnight in that school again makes me really uneasy. Almost a decade ago, I worked at a travel stop on a low-traffic highway through Wyoming. It was essentially a gas station with a small store inside that had some amenities specifically for truckers or long-distance travelers, like showers and even some laundry machines. It was located at the halfway point between two small towns and about 4 hours from the next major town. This night, around 11, I put my headphones on and started going through inventory, checking what was in stock, what we needed to order, and that sort of stuff.
Wearing headphones was never an issue because overnight customers rarely came in.
But also, I'd always see their truck or car headlights beam through the front windows whenever anyone pulled in. However, just 30-ish minutes into doing inventory, I suddenly stopped and felt like I had to turn around. When I did, there was a man standing right behind me. It sort of startled me, as I never noticed any lights outside, or even heard him opening the door. I took my headphones off. The man kept this straight, hollow stare as he asked me for one of the shower rooms. I said sure thing. He paid for it in cash, then headed to the back where the showers were. Afterward, I looked outside, but on first glance, I didn't see any cars or trucks in the parking lot. I knew he had to have driven here though, so I didn't even bother going out and double-checking. What was really weird that I couldn't stop thinking about, though, was him standing right behind me. When I turned around, he wasn't walking or anything. He was just standing there looking at me.
Like, how long was he there for?
Could have just been weird timing on when I turned around, but still, it was strange.
I continued with doing inventory, but with my headphones off, since the guy was inside.
About 15 minutes went by.
I could still hear the water running from the shower from the back of the building, but I was pretty much done with inventory, so another 15 minutes passed. This was about when I decided to head back there to make sure everything was good. The showers were typically limited to 20 minutes, but I never had anyone even come close to that. These weren't exactly the type of showers you'd want to stand in for any longer than you had to. I walked over there and quickly saw that the door was open.
I stopped, not wanting to, see anything. And instead, just called out sir a few times.
With no response, I took a few steps closer. The shower was still running, but the man was standing in the middle of the room, clothed and clearly not showering at all. He was just facing the wall, staring at himself in the mirror.
Sir, everything okay?
His eyes shifted to the side, staring at me through the mirror. Then, without saying anything, he walked right past me and out of the store. Immediately, I went to turn off the shower and looked around the room to see what the hell he'd been doing for the last 30 minutes in there. But from what I could tell at least, nothing was even moved or touched at all. It was all just how I'd left it earlier in the night when I cleaned it. I then went up to the front of the store, but the guy was already gone.
He was just gone.
Something felt wrong, both about the whole situation and the guy himself. Made me uneasy for the entire rest of the night. It stayed quiet though, just a few truckers here and there pulling in to fill their tanks.
I worked again the following night.
Around 2 a.m., I got so bored I decided to grab some of the cleaning rags and go outside to wipe down the gas pumps.
I almost never did this because it was unnecessary.
And usually the guy who worked the day shifts always did it before he left. Outside, it was dark and quiet. The view from around the gas station was just flat land. So at night, it was just a curtain of darkness, where you really couldn't see anything past the gas station buildings.
I wiped down a few of the units, taken my time, and was out there for about 5 minutes.
When I moved to the last pump and happened to glance back at the store front, I honestly don't even know how I managed to notice from such a quick, short glance. But I saw someone standing inside the building, far back, behind all the shelves in the back hallway.
It was that man from yesterday.
I felt a chill go through me. Where the hell did he come from? Again, no car or truck or anything had pulled in. I dropped what I was doing and cautiously walked back inside and down to the end of the store. The man didn't turn around. He was just facing the open door to the shower room that he was staring at.
Hey, where did you come from?
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I then stepped beside him and looked around at his face. He had this wide, creepy smile, like he did something. And that's when I turned and looked into the shower room that he was staring at. There was something on the floor burning, like in full flames, looking like it was just moments away from spreading uncontrollably. My instant reaction was to quickly put it out before it burned the whole store down.
I ran in and tried using a towel to smother it.
But just a couple seconds in, the door slammed behind me. I felt the most instant surge of fear I'd ever felt in my life, genuinely thinking I'd just gotten myself killed.
But I quickly snapped out of it and grabbed the door handle, trying to push it open.
The man was on the other side, holding the door shut, but it only locked from the inside.
So I still had a chance here.
And surprisingly, after only a few moments, he let up and just ran off. Didn't try to fight me or anything. He just bolted out of the store. And when I followed to see where he went this time, I saw him run into the wilderness, falling past the darkness within seconds. But what I hadn't noticed before was that several parts of the shower room were doused in lighter fluid, like basically the whole shower curtain and some section of the walls. As soon as the police left and I was able to leave, I called the owner and quit on the spot.
No chance I'd ever go back there, knowing that that man was still out there.
Had things gone any differently, I likely wouldn't even have made it out that night. The guy turned out to be just some 40-year-old man with no real known information about him. Could have been homeless or on the run for something else. Honestly, from what I heard, nobody really knows for sure. They did find on the cameras, though, that the man snuck in right after I'd left the building to look for him out at the lake. Using the one door that I'd unlocked. They sifted through more footage, trying to get any other hints as to why he was there.
But they got nothing.
It was just him wandering the building and then hiding when I got back in. Likely this was just some insane man, possibly having a psychotic episode. And not worth digging too deep into. But still, knowing how close the guy was to me, being right outside the door, and knowing how close I was to opening that door, it's still been pretty traumatizing.